Welcome to the Road to Black podcast, episode 25. I'm here with my man Wes, as always. Wes, what's up, Wes?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. We're both here to welcome in our first guest on episode 25. It's a good number, Nick Flores. What's up, buddy? How you
What's
doing,
up? How
Nick?
you doing?
Good. Did you train today? That's our first question.
Yes.
Okay,
I figured I
perfect.
had to. It was at 10 a.m. on a Monday. I had a
Yep.
meeting. I had a meeting with like the CEO of my company and like my practice leader at 9. And I was like, all right, I think I can make this happen. And so I got into the 10 a.m. this morning.
Perfect. The 10
Nice.
a.m.
You
guy.
consistently a 10 a.m. guy. How long have you been doing the 10 a.m. classes, Nick?
Actually, I was an early bird for a while. I was an early bird first. That's where me and Paul met. But
Yeah.
gosh, since blue belt, purple belt, I started becoming a 10 a.m. guy. Purple belt is when the 10 a.m. at GD was just the Thunderdome, right? That's when you had the monsters. You had Espen, you had Thomas Keenan, you had Aaron Wilson, you had all these super athletic guys. And so that was when I really fell in love with the 10 a.m.
You found it some place was hardcore as you?
Dude, man, you going to the 10 a.m. back then, you were leaving bleeding maybe.
Yeah,
You
for
were
sure.
leaving beat up. If you walked out of that room feeling good, that was it was a prized possession. You kept that for a while.
That's what it's about, you know? Got to go hard, right?
Got Yeah. So I was telling on the last episode of the podcast, Nick. I was telling our listeners, but we kind of prefaced bringing you on the podcast, and I was telling them that you and I we trained together for a little bit, and there was always one of us was always going to end up bleeding by the end of the day during when we would train together. So for the listeners, Nick, he trains hard. He's well accomplished in jiu-jitsu, and you're a jiu-jitsu black belt for the listeners. I guess my first question, if you don't mind me asking, is what was it like getting your black belt?
Yeah, yeah. No, we had some tough roles, didn't we? We had some battles. Getting my black belt was super cool. Um, it was kind of for everybody it's special, right? Everyone it's gonna mean the world to you, and it certainly did to me. And there was a lot of circumstances around me getting the black belt. I got the black belt from Orlando Montero and Paul Nava really, and it was a huge honor. And I'm Orlando's first black belt, which means a lot. Orlando's obviously a really good friend of mine, good friend of both of your guys's, and so I don't know that I was worthy of that honor, but I certainly take it serious and want to live up to it. And jujitsu is important to me. It's very important to me. And so, yeah, the highest honor. What was interesting about getting the black belt was, it means a lot to us. You guys know what it means. You guys know
Hmm.
exactly what it means. And
Not yet,
but
but
well, but you know that you want.
yeah, we know.
And but in like my business community, I'm an insurance agent. I'm an insurance broker,
They have
right?
no
And
idea.
they had no idea.
Yeah,
But even they were like, wow, that's an accomplishment. Congratulations.
yeah, but they don't
Also
really know.
they don't really know.
They don't really know what it takes. How it's a long road. It's a long road.
Right.
So, real quick, let's step it back. Since it's a long road to the black, man, I met you in 2012 as a white belt, and I was telling the listeners in a last episode, I think on my first, I first started training at GD's in the morning, and you were already like a three-stripe white belt, and I was just like, God, who is this savage over here? He doesn't roll like the other white belts. But that always motivated me because I always looked up to you, like, because you were just 100% in. And now I understand, like, that's really what it takes overall in jiu-jitsu. It's like, get your head in the game on the mat, train hard, and train consistently. So, but what I never really, you've probably told me before, but what I want the listeners to know also is what was your start? Like, when did you first start? Because when I met you, you were already doing it for a little bit. So where did
Right.
you start? When did you start? And who motivated you to get started? Because we have some new listeners out there, and everyone has their different story. And I always like to go back on people who have been training forever and kind of hear that first. When did you get your toe? When did you dip your toes in?
Yeah, when I got my black belt, I said, jiu-jitsu is about people, it's about relationships, and we all have our own story. And my certainly is very valuable to me. I started wrestling when I was 12, and there's a personal component to that that's really important. I can't get into that right now. I'll probably struggle to tell that story, but I always wrestled. So I just that's kind of where my tenacity came from.
Yeah.
I was the city champ of Mesa when I was 13. It was a really big deal to me. Winning city, my name was on the banner, and it was like, dude, like I'm fucking good at something. Like this is crazy. I'm just a kid. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. I don't have a lot of confidence. And grappling always gave me that, and kind of fell off it towards the end of high school, got into, all the things you get into when you're graduating high school and going to college and things, and picked it up again, actually, when I was probably in my early 20s at a place called American Pancration. It was a guy named Jeff Funicello. A lot of guys know Jeff. Jeff's a tough dude, probably still runs a camp somewhere. He worked at ASU, so I was with Jeff for a while. And again, just a bunch of wrestlers. So it's just banging heads, maybe an arm bar here and there. I actually met Derek Young there. Derek would beat the brakes off of me back then. And so when I saw him as a white belt, it was pleasant to make his acquaintance again.
Yeah, no doubt.
I try to dodge him now, though, because he's a beast again. But
yeah.
So then I went to Santino. DeFranco had Southwest MMA, and Santino's a legit black belt under John Crouch, and first put on the gi, did that for about a year or two with him. And then they end up selling, and I was like, all right, I got to find a real place. And so where does everyone go when they're looking for a real place? Go to Gustavo Dantas Jiu-Jitsu, and in 2012 or 10, when it was 12, I think, that's the best jiu-jitsu, on the West Coast, much less Arizona, or some of it at least. And then was with G for a long time. And then, right towards the end of my brown belt, we just felt like we needed to change, and we went over to Paul Nava, and now I train with Paul Nava, and it's a great team over there, and I love it.
Nice. How often are you training right now?
I was telling Wes earlier, it's like, this is probably the most I've trained in a long time. I mean, 3 or 4 times a week, and
nice.
Man, everyone's coming for you. So every round's tough. And it's like, I'm fighting everybody, the purple belts that weigh 200 pounds, there was a 220 pound white belt that wants to battle today. We battle. So it was a tough rounds, guys like you coming at me.
Do you think, do you think, is that because, are you able to go with those RPMs just because you're training more and you're feeling good, or is it a combination of that plus your skill level allows you to really handle your shit? Does that make sense? As you get better, it seems like you can take more of the workload in some ways because you're not training the way you used to be. You're training smarter. You're letting the other person expend their energy when maybe you're holding them in a guard, or you're keeping the distance from them. Is that something you've realized over time, or do you still just, like last time I rolled with you, just go 1,000 miles an hour and kick some ass?
Yeah.
Probably both, but
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
You understand what I'm saying? Where you're taking on that more workload. It's not like, obviously you're also doing a lot of strength, and you're probably more of a physical specimen these days as well. But how are you able to, why do you think it is? Why do you think you're training so much and so successfully right now?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Certainly, me and Wes were talking about this before you jumped on. Certainly, strength training has had a huge impact on my ability to do jiu-jitsu. I was experiencing some chronic back pain, back issues when around blue belt, purple belt, and the doctors were like, "Man, you got some bad stuff. You're not doing this anymore. It's over." And I didn't want to have surgery. I didn't want to do injections, and so I really got back into weightlifting. And just having the durability, and the confidence also that comes around with lifting weights, you actually generate a lot of confidence when you lift heavy things. And so when you go and train with a big blue belt who wants to rip your face off, it's like, bro, I just deadlifted you today or yesterday. I know I can deadlift you today. Let's go.
Yeah.
But
Strength matters.
strength
Strength
matters.
matters.
Efficiency in jujitsu also has been very helpful. I've uncovered some things I think lately that make me feel much more comfortable. I've been working a lot of bicep rides. I always talk about Manny Ramirez whenever I get a chance to teach, and his just old school open guard bicep concept is such a big deal for me lately, and it's really helped. But certainly, if I take off a week or two and I show up to Power MMA, man, my heart's pounding, right? Like it's like, there's
Yeah.
still a lot of butterflies. There's still challenging days. There's some days I'll win around and feel like I got smashed. So it's still jujitsu, but I certainly
Yeah.
feel like the combination of those things has I don't know, made it fun again, right?
Yeah.
They,
Yeah, for sure.
so
Yeah, that was going to be my question, is if you're feeling a little bit maybe reinvigorated with jiu-jitsu. I guess my question would be, during those times when maybe you aren't invigorated about jiu-jitsu, do you have any go-tos? Like, is it just keep training for you?
yeah, dude, again, it's very personal, right? Like my wife's a brown belt, so we're not always on the same vibe. Like, hey, I want to do a tournament. Hey, my foot's broke. Well, there's a balance there, right? And hey, I want to train. It's like, I don't want to go train. I just got smashed by John Cabet yesterday. I don't want to be in that room. Like, but I got to show up. So, I just certainly feed off of her a lot. She's nice too, because we can train together. We keep each other. It's like, hey, I don't want to battle today. I just need to drill this footlock. Can I work with you? So she's helped a lot, but, meeting new people at Novice Gym has been invigorating, right? A lot of great humans over there, and some of the open mats Paul has are just like, dude, it's like the energy is unbelievable. There's 100 people at this last promotion he had. I mean, it was wild,
Yeah, I saw
and
those pictures, man. That was incredible.
yeah, it's wild. It's like, oh, how do you not love it? And so yeah, I know. I hope
A lot
that
of
answers it.
a lot of energy in the room.
Right, a lot of good vibes.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talk about that a lot here. It's like that's one thing Wes and I have discovered after doing this podcast for this many months and stuff, is like everyone's training. You realize everyone has a different training experience. There might be somebody that's training for a couple of years and never felt that vibe, that electricity in the gym when you have a huge promotion like that. Not everyone's fortunate enough. We have amazing jiu-jitsu here in Arizona, a lot of choices, quality instruction, big schools, but Wes and I talk about this a lot because we actually have listeners who are in this position where they don't have that luxury, So we're all thankful for that, because I felt that before too. But, there could be somebody that's in just a little training pod somewhere in Nebraska and they're just training and they don't have a big school. So it's good to hear, like, that's kind of what we're going to do with some of our guests, is just get that, kind of see what the vibe is of the school you're training at and what your vibe is,
Yeah, I've actually trained at some smaller schools. I travel a lot. I
That's
travel a lot
right.
for work, and I've made some friends up there in North Dakota. Ice Dragons BJJ up there. I trained
Nice.
over in Fargo BJJ. I trained at Bruce Hoyer's gym in Sioux Falls. It's actually affiliated with Jair and those guys. You
Oh,
know about
wow.
these guys out there, the LFA guys, Wes?
No,
Yeah. So
no,
I've
I don't
trained
know.
at some of these smaller gyms, and you're right. There's different vibes everywhere, but I could tell you, like, there can be good energy with a group of three
Oh,
or
yeah.
100. It's
Because jiu-jitsu is awesome.
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome. And there's some tough sons of guns. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Out there in those areas, I can't tell you how many times I've rolled into those gyms and they just looked at me like, oh,
Who's this pretty boy?
exactly,
They
exactly.
live tough. They live
I know.
tough in
Yeah.
those
Right,
areas. You
right.
got to live. You got to survive out in the cold. Shit,
Dude,
I've seen your Instagram videos where it's like 2 degrees out. I'm like, oh my god.
Makes it tough to train, man.
Dude,
Tell
I've
me
trained
about
at
it.
some schools in Illinois, and those are all wrestlers out there. And you show up there, and it's like they don't care about your jiu-jitsu. They're staying on top, and you are not going to move them. So I can
Yeah.
imagine that's how it is in the Dakotas too.
Right,
It's just
totally.
big wrestlers, strong, you know,
Different
It
breed.
is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. So, you mentioned something about you've kind of switched schools a bunch. I've switched schools, or not a bunch, but you've trained in a lot of places, and you switched to brown belt. You switched gyms. I've trained at a bunch of schools, and what I'm trying to do is I'm relating this back to being kind of invigorated in jiu-jitsu. It seems like, so I trained at four schools, and I don't have a school here. So every time that I have switched schools from a move or whatever the circumstances is, it seems like I always go through this big growth spurt and I get really invigorated. My game could just completely changes. And it's like I become super just excited about jiu-jitsu again. And I don't know whether it's I didn't necessarily feel like I was stuck before, but just the excitement of new looks, new friendships, new relationships, I just get super energized about it, I guess would be the right word. So just to kind of I'm kind of relating to you
no,
because
totally. I think, yeah, I totally hear what you're saying. I think when you're challenged, especially going to a new school, it's almost terrifying, right? It's like freak, but you get challenged. I know when I went over to novice, like I knew those guys, I knew who I was, but I really hadn't trained with a lot of them. So the first couple months was like, boom, we're battling, and it was tough, but I certainly got better. So I can relate to what you're saying. I would prefer not to do it that way, but I think you can manufacture it, with open mats. I think that's one thing I've really kind of done. My old school, G's, we didn't do open mats. So I didn't go to a lot of them. There was none there. And the open mats, I think, can create a similar environment where it's like, hey, Nick, roll with this guy. It's like, that's a 24-year-old that just got his black belt. I'm kind of don't want to roll with that guy, but I do. It puts me out there, and then I do okay because I'm a black belt too. It's like it's jiu-jitsu, and you walk away from that feeling invigorated. And I think that sometimes we get caught in a silo, in life or whatever, but in jiu-jitsu specifically, it's like I'm a collar sleeve guy, or I'm a De La Hiva guy with the pant grip, or whatever you do. And it's like, well, let's try something out. Let's do something different. Let's go manufacture a hard time. I'll go to Power MMA a lot of times, and it's not a lot of manufacturing. It's just show up, and it's going to be a hard time. And so I think that's a good way to be. When you got a blue belt who's been fighting MMA for 10 years, breathing down your neck, you need to be better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
You got a guy like Jair who's got, obviously, he speaks for himself, the general, right? But then now all the different looks I'm getting at Nava's, like John Cabay, Paul Nava's great, all those guys over there are some awesome competitors and fighters. And so I think that is the way you get better. That is the way you stay invigorated, is by challenging yourself, like anything in life, right? It's like,
Well, if you've been trained in the same class, you guys have probably felt it. It's like you get a familiarity with other people, and I'm very much in one class all the time, so I already know that I have to roll with people either at other gyms or open mats or my house to like mix it up, like get some new looks, because that's what you did when you move. You lose the familiarity and like, I know this person's game.
Right.
And it's all new. Every person coming at you is new. So it's like, and it took you a while to settle in. And I'm sure
and they don't respect your collar sleeve yet, or they don't respect your footlock yet. They don't know about it.
Yep. But I'm sure you've already got a lot of it dialed in now. That's how it is, right? When you're in a training room full of other people, you're like, okay, I know what this person's game is. I'm gonna stay away from that, or I'm gonna attack this, or so.
Are you teaching classes now, Nick?
I teach sometimes. I like a substitute teacher right now. If someone calls out, I'll help out on the 10 a.m. But it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate John and Paul giving me that opportunity. I feel like it's a nice stepping stone for a black belt, right? Like everyone wants to do that one day, and maybe not own a school or whatever, but certainly have your knowledge and opinion valued. So it's been cool.
Sure. Nice. what is your current? You told me you're training like 3-4 times a week, and one thing we wanted to talk on is like how much you've implemented this strength training over the last few years in particular. At least that's what I'm seeing is like you're ramping it up. You're looking strong. Last time I saw you.
Yeah.
How are you incorporating that into your training? Because this is a topic that we've had over the last month as well. Is the load we're putting on ourselves as athletes with jujitsu, with external whatever it might be, but one thing in particular is strength training or external training or additional training, supplemental training to jujitsu. So, tell me about how you plan that out and how you stay motivated and what your overall thought process is. Because I do some of the same things, but everyone's different. How do you approach your week in terms of balancing all that?
Yeah. Well, it's very systematic, right? Like I'm an agency partner at the Mahoney Group. It's an insurance brokerage firm I've worked at. I've been there for about 17 years, and it's a full-time thing. But I also train jujitsu and compete and try to make that a big part of my life. So it's like every minute's accounted for. If you see my calendar, it's like 6 a.m. is this, 8 a.m. is that, 10 a.m. is jujitsu, right? And so it's very programmed. I typically will do the 10 a.m. on Monday, and then I try to do some sort of heavy lifting the next day, and then Wednesday, and then Friday for jujitsu, and then I will offset every other day with lifting. I don't really like to lift and do jujitsu twice in the same day. Certainly, I don't like to lift after jujitsu. I'm just exhausted. You put a lot of energy into it. And so for me, it's very programmed. It's very like, okay, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I don't know a lot of things, but I stick to the big three lifts: deadlift, squat, and bench. And I base my workouts around those. And so if I haven't squatted in a while, I know it's a squat day. It's like, okay, maybe I get the safety squat bar, maybe I get the regular squat bar. I get out my paper pad, and then we start going down the workout for the day. And we try to do everything, and lunges, whatever it may be that day, but focus on, legs. Maybe it'd be deadlift will be back and legs, I guess, and then bench obviously is upper body. I do a lot of grip training now. When Patrick and Orlando were in town, when Wes was over my house, we had a good time. Kicked in the hot tub, it was a good time. Had some adult beverages.
I never posted those videos.
Oh, you got them, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I still have those. So for the listeners,
send them me first. Let me make sure they're good.
There may or may not have been a grip strength competition over at Nick's house.
Yeah, there you go. Sure. So I do a lot of that since Patrick came. Basically, just a lot of grip training. But really, my weightlifting is about longevity in jiu-jitsu. Like I love jiu-jitsu, and I've always lifted weights. I like lifting weights. Don't get me wrong, it's fun. But I love jiu-jitsu. And weights allows me to do jiu-jitsu, right? Like it gives me that longevity.
Yeah.
Like it's a Sunday. I know I have a tough 10 a.m. tomorrow. I could just cook barbecue and do nothing, or I could do squats and then cook barbecue. And now I know it's like, all right, wake up tomorrow. I feel tight. I feel good. I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
So it's been very systematic.
That's great. That's the way to do it. Schedule it, get it done. I mean, otherwise, if you're not, it's discipline, right? I mean, you're disciplined with jiu-jitsu. It only makes sense that you would incorporate that. So you're talking like you're training every day, maybe one day off a week.
Yeah. The day offs usually come like as needed, right? As prescribed. Like,
right.
Oh, this is, I need a day off today.
Okay.
And we have fun too. We have a great life. Like it's, we were on vacation for a week. I didn't do much that week.
Yeah.
But typically it's like, no, every day we're working out something. So and I put it in the calendar. I think that's important to know. Everyone's got an iPhone. You can put it right in your calendar. Just add your meetings. Like, boom, I'm working out here, and then it's there, and you do it.
What's your target? One more thing about the workout. What's your target time for your strength training? How long are you strength training?
I'd like 2 hours.
Wow.
2 hours.
Nice.
I block out 2 hours in my calendar.
Okay.
Can I get it done in 60 minutes in a pinch? Yeah, and I will if I have to. Like, I told you I don't do squats and deadlifts or squats and jiu-jitsu in the same day. Well, I did it the other day because I hadn't squatted in a while and I hadn't done jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I'm not, screw you. I'm doing both. And you guys know me. I'm kind of like, if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. I go get it done.
Yeah.
So I hit squats for 25 minutes, got a nice little workout, went to jiu-jitsu. Wasn't the best, but it was better than nothing.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
You
two
know,
hours is preferred.
the way that I explain this to people whenever I get on a call with somebody and talk to them about strength training programs and all this stuff in jiu-jitsu, I always call it's the cake and the icing, right? So the cake is the jiu-jitsu. That's what we all want. It's
Right.
that's all we want. And then you have the icing. That's the strength training. And if you want the icing to complement the cake, you don't. It doesn't need to be a ton. It should just make your jiu-jitsu better. It should make your training better. It should complement your jiu-jitsu. But if you get too much icing and you really screw up the ratio on that cake, and it's too sweet with icing, then it's all screwed up. It doesn't. So it's like really is about balancing your strength training and making it complementary to your jiu-jitsu, kind of like you were just talking about it. It kind of dinged that for me, because I go through that same conversation with people, and it's a hard thing to like really tell somebody and have that conversation with, because for us as like go-getters, jiu-jitsu athletes, high achievers, it's just like, I want it all,
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's focus on, if you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, then you need to be on the mats doing jiu-jitsu, and you need to have a program that doesn't take away from your time on the mats.
Yeah.
So
That comes with time, right? You just understanding what you can do and what your workload can, what you can handle. If you're motivated.
You work out a lot, though, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, you might as well talk. You're preaching to the choir, bro. It's like,
what is your regimen like?
Same. Like I work out every day.
That's awesome.
So,
but you do both, right? You'll do weights and jiu-jitsu in the same day?
Not ever on the same day.
Oh, wow. Same then.
So, yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, I've been going about at least 3 times of jiu-jitsu, and I'll at least do 3 strength. Sometimes I'll go, I was just going to say, I guess it's a good problem to have, but I've been doing this so long, so many years, I have a hard time not working out. Like it could be a Sunday and I'm getting up, like my lady's sleeping in a little bit. Instead of just relaxing, I'm like, I'm fucking going to the gym. Like on the 7th day I worked out that week. And it's like, so I think some of it's a sickness, because the reason I say that is because, like if I don't go, I feel like I'm cheating myself. Like I'm over the top. And sometimes that's not good. You can overdo it. You can overtrain. But I just feel like a piece of shit if I don't go to the gym. I'm just like, it doesn't mean anything that I went 14 days in a row. So you can go crazy on the other side, because I love doing strength training. Just, it's not the same as jiu-jitsu, but man, I feel good when I do it. I firmly believe that strength training is the key to longevity. I mean, I've been reading a lot about it, listened to a lot of guys on Rogan's podcast talk about, when you have that muscle, when your muscle starts to break down, you start losing, things start going awry, as you get older. So I'm just trying to, I'm big on momentum. Like that's my thing. It was my thing in business. It's my thing with my businesses now. And also with jiu-jitsu, it's like taking a week or 2 off. It sucks for injury. I would never choose to take time off because I love jiu-jitsu. But if you do have to take it, I hate building the momentum back up, because it's when you're in the momentum, like you right now, you're feeling it, Nick. I mean, you're training a lot. You're doing strength training. You have a beautiful family. You're in the groove right now, So not everybody can get there, right? And for me, it's like I need to stay in that groove forever, whatever that means. You know what I mean? I never want to jump off this train so that I have to. I can't even foresee this happening, but in 5 or 10 years where I haven't been working out, I haven't been going to jiu-jitsu, and it's like to get back up on that. It's very important for me at this age, middle age, to just continue moving. People that move into their older age and do exercises and things like this, they prosper. So that's my whole goal.
I think you need to do more now, right? Like I think now is the time where it's like, you can put more into your 401k. Well, let's do it, And like my dad's what he turned 67, he said. and he's got to have a hip replacement coming up. And he lived hard. He didn't exercise much. He was a wrestler, so
Yeah.
he came from a good background, but now it's like he's like, oh shoot, I need to be working out. I need to be
Yeah.
exercising. I need to be getting back together. And it's like, yeah, you do. And I think we can all take a lesson from that generation and go, oh, well, maybe if I start squatting now, maybe if
Right.
I start doing these great things now, take some fish oil, take
Yeah.
care of myself. Because for me, that's the thing is longevity. Like
Yeah.
longevity is critical for jujitsu, for my life, for everything, obviously. And it's like I want to keep doing these things I love,
Yeah.
and that's what the exercise does for me. And to your point, like I don't think you're crazy. I think you're just a human. I think this is what
Yeah.
humans are supposed to do. We're supposed to run. We're supposed to jump.
Yeah.
We're supposed to lift heavy things.
100%.
Right? That's what humans do. And now we sit, the cliche, we sit in office chairs all day. We don't do these. And so, I'm huge on it. I have my boys work out all the time. My kids are exercising almost every single day of the week. Today they're at speed camp. They're
Yeah.
doing calisthenics, things like that. Tomorrow they got football. The next day, or today they're at jiu-jitsu, I'm sorry. Tomorrow's football, and the next day is speed camp. And it's not necessarily about the sports or what I want to do. It's more about when they're engaged, when they're exercising, they're happier.
Yeah,
They
exactly.
behave better. We all behave better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to benefit them tremendously when they get older. They're going to have that discipline, number one. Like the kids, a lot of them don't develop. It's hard. But props to you. I know you're right there with them all the time, right in the middle of their lives, and they don't have a choice. So I know that about
Yeah.
you. They're not going to sit in there and watch you work out. So
Right.
I mean, it helps a lot that you're living that lifestyle as their dad.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That it's not just go work out. You're not telling them to go work out and then not working out. You're living it. A lot of people that I've seen, that's a generational thing. That's
Right.
an that's an example. You take on certain characteristics of your family that brought you up, and I think credit to you for and Sarah for living that lifestyle and giving them a good example.
Well, I think you're seeing it too in a lot of obviously everyone that does jujitsu is probably healthy, but like look at like Ray Fuentes and his family, right? They started buying kettlebells during the pandemic. Just like I have one kettle, now the dude's got like all the kettlebells and he's killing, he's got some mats in it. It's like, that's how simple it is. And the whole family's engaged. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think, man, I get so excited when I see people working out. I'm just like, oh, you want to lift weights? Great. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Do you need to borrow a
Yeah.
barbell? You can't because they're precious. I can't give those up, but
Yeah.
I might give you some 35 pounds.
They're on display right there behind you.
Yeah,
You know, It's
For the-
it's like the thing is too is you don't think of it because I've been doing it forever as of you, but if you've been doing strength training, I've met people that are really intimidated about going to the gym and they have no concept. I never thought of that. Like I can understand that with jujitsu because that's how it was for me. I was like, what is this when I start? It's like, but I always thought everyone knows how to lift weights or, who didn't pick up but that was the way I grew up. My dad was a bodybuilder and
Oh, wow, there you go.
yeah, I mean, he just always, from when I was a teenager, took me to the gym and got me going and taught me everything. That was the biggest thing. So that when I was, on my own, 18, 19, I was like, I'm always having a gym membership. And I would and you learn a lot over the years, what works and what doesn't. But yeah, I like that too. I sometimes forget that not everybody's real comfortable going into a gym, so it can be intimidating just the same as jujitsu is. So, people slam it depending on the gym too, going in there and people are just slamming weights all over the place. But,
That's why we're trying to start the garage gym movement, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. The
you
garage
don't have to go
gym.
too far.
Let's go. Yeah. So, no, I think that's the thing is it doesn't need to be, I think that, humbly, I think I'm a good athlete, right? I think that I can work hard, I can push, I always have some God-given talents. So, I can understand that people are in this position, but man, you can get a kettlebell and do a lot and make yourself
Yeah.
feel a lot better about yourself very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sure Wes can give you a lot of things to do with a 25-pound kettlebell.
Yep.
Yeah.
That'll make
Yep.
it feel like it's a lot heavier.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's my setup's super lean. I have 13 by 10s behind me, mats, and then I've got a nice kettlebell set over here, some steps. I mean, a physio ball. I mean, it's a pretty lean setup, but it gets the job done.
Gets the job done. Right.
You know,
You
and
just got to
that's
move. You got to move. You got to do it. People don't work out. They don't even want to do a body weight squat. You can do body weight exercises, but that's what I always tell people. It's like, or they're making these big resolutions. It's like, so you're going to go and sign up for all these classes at a gym and you don't go to a gym. You start small, like show some motivation, get off your ass and do something, I see, in my business, I see all walks of life. I see people that are just excelling, like, very involved in their sports, no matter whether they're a triathlete or a jiu-jitsu athlete, MMA, we get it all at Chill Fit. Everyone looking for recover. And then I get people that are they're coming in just to try it out. And they're like, hey, I heard this burns calories. And it's like, they're so far, they just have so much, they have so far to go, And we do a little bit of coaching there and trying to just get people healthy and get them active. But you'd be surprised, man. There's a lot of people out there. Maybe you're not surprised. I mean, it's obviously a problem in our society with obesity and stuff, but people literally, they have a hard time walking or going for a walk. Some people, it's like, so we're in this atmosphere where there's like a lot of high performers. And I think as a jiu-jitsu athlete, we forget about that sometimes. It's like, we look all around, there's savages everywhere that are just wanting to train all the time. But, but I was saying that is because that whole the gym movement makes all the sense in the world, especially during COVID. So a lot of people chose COVID to gain the COVID, the quarantine 15. Other people went the other direction. They're like, I got to get some home equipment. I got to get going. Like, I know Nick boosted his whole game up during that time, but, you can start somewhere, So even if you're a listener, you're starting jiu-jitsu, you may not be in the best shape of your life and you want to get better. Like, take our advice, especially over these last few weeks, do some of that supplemental training, because like Nick said, it's going to help your training overall. And I firmly believe that as well, is like, especially if you're an older athlete, being strong has helped me tremendously to fight off injuries. I mean, the stronger you are, those joints and tendons and everything, I mean, that's meaningful in jiu-jitsu. I mean, think about it. All the tweaks, the way you're going. Yeah, you want to have flexibility too, but being strong is, I just hate the whole stop using strength thing. It's a touchy subject for strong guys. The whole memes and that whole world is funny, but it's one thing to use strength only, but when you have technique and you have strength, you better watch out.
Yep.
Look at the highest level athletes there are in this sport. They're all jacked. So, I mean, even I'm not talking steroid jacked. I'm talking like strong competitors, strong athletes. Not a lot of soft bodies out there winning world championships. So,
Yeah, there's no question.
Nick, you're obviously a very disciplined person. You were talking about you schedule everything. That's actually something that I was working with a performance coach for my business. That's something that I picked up from him is just, scheduling every single detail of your day.
Right.
That's like one of those that's like a high
Right.
performance
I got that from a sales
behavior.
coach too, right?
Yeah. So that's interesting. And so you strength train, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing all this stuff. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about how some of this discipline, where you picked this up at? Is this,
Yeah, man,
how
I
did you
don't know.
develop it? I mean,
I think if you talk to my family, if you talk to my dad, my brothers, and they'd be like, how the hell, where did you come from?
you've always been this way.
No, and it's like sometimes, like, I don't know, I changed. My life changed at some point, and I don't know when it was, but there was like a switch that went off one day, and it was like, no more. This is the way it's going to be. Maybe I always had it, and I lost it for a little bit, but yeah, I'm super tenacious. Like it's nonstop for me. It's a disease, right? Like Paul said, it's a sickness.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you did this, well, you better do this plus that. Oh, you did that already, well, I don't care, now go do more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like, so I just constantly am in that way. And I'm also kind of all over the place, right? I'm very like, with my jujitsu, I'm very aggressive. I'm all over the place. In life, I'm all over the place too. And so having structure has really helped me stay focused on my tasks, and really has allowed me to accomplish a lot, right? Especially with weightlifting, jujitsu, and in business. And so I don't know where it came from, but it's certainly there, and I keep feeding the fire.
So I know I can attest that like your tenacity really serves you well in competition. So were you always drawn to competition right from the get go when you started BJJ, or were you? Is it something you? I'm sure because of your background, I kind of know what the answer is going to be, but not everybody is the same with competition. Some people fall in love with it later, some never get used to it. So, what was your experience? When you found out about competing, you started training jujitsu. Was it something always that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think the answer is I don't know. When I first started, it was more about I want to learn arm bars and chokes.
Yeah,
And it really was when I came to G's gym. I only competed once in jiu-jitsu before Gustavo. It was with American Pancration. It was a smoker fight. It was kind of funny, actually. I saw some guys that I ended up competing with later in life then. But it started with Gustavo. He approached me. Gustavo used to be much more um, involved with his competitors. He would solicit competitors. Like and maybe solicit's the wrong word, but he would engage you certainly and say, "Hey, I think you are ready to fight. Do you want to
yeah,
fight?" And it was like, "Oh, shoot, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go." And first match, I win my first match, and I run to the trash can and throw up. Jiu-jitsu is not like a wrestling match, man. Like I've had
yeah,
tons of wrestling matches. Jiu-jitsu is different. Adrenaline dump was real.
yeah.
Throw up. Second match, I faced John Gorey, who's a brown belt now. He trains with John Van Buren, and we have a war. He wins a ref's decision, and he goes and faces Thomas Keenan and loses a TK in the finals. And it was like, okay, this is awesome. I had a bronze medal. It was great. And really from there, it was like I love competing. And then it became a balance of health, work, family, and jujitsu, right? Like all those things. And obviously, my family and my career take priority. They have to.
Yeah.
Um, and then my health is actually almost more important to jujitsu. Without it, I can't do jujitsu. So it's like
Yeah.
I had this hierarchy above jujitsu. It's like boom, boom, boom. We do this to do this to do this to finally get to do jujitsu today. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so competition always was a balance, but competed a bunch. And then when I was a blue belt, I won American Nationals. That was my name on the marquee again. Ninth grade,
Yeah.
right? All over again. City champ. Like 5 fights, win them all. Bunch by submission in the gi. Steve Rosenberg's coaching me all day. And then the next day, I go win 4 fights in the no gi, and I ended up losing in the final to like a flying armbar. But it was still like it was just like no harm,
Wow.
no hard feelings. Like it was just such like
Yeah.
a. And it was like, oh man, I'm a jujitsu guy now, right? Like I just
Wow.
had 9 fights in a weekend. Like I'm a
That's
jujitsu guy.
crazy.
And then I had a good run at Master Worlds. I never run Master World, but at purple belt I took second and I took bronze, and that's like 12 fights between those two tournaments. And so you know, jiu-jitsu tournaments have just there's so much that happens at those tournaments. With people and the relationships, and just I'm always traveling with Sarah too. She's my wife. I love her, and she's like my ride or die. So man, tournaments are just so fun. I've really just had a lot of joy from them, but they've also been, extremely humbling. I
Yeah.
mean, just devastating moments, right, at those tournaments.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of become, you know, just this great tool for me to help me grow as a human, right? Like I get to
Yeah.
go experience Florida. I get to meet these new people. Me and my wife have a great time. And then it's like, oh, what happened?
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's just like, so then you ball that up, and it's just a memory now, and then you get to
Hmm.
keep it forever. And it's like, man, I don't know, I can't, I don't know anything else in my life that can give me that much. emotion in 3 days, right? And
Right.
so
Powerful.
I love tournaments. I love competing.
What's your plans for competition this year?
I'm going to try to be pretty aggressive. I'm going to try to do the Jiu-Jitsu World League. I think Aries' team is doing that in May. I want to go and compete at Master Worlds for sure. There's no pressure at all for me, I don't feel like, and I feel like I can fight. Let's go. I'm not
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah.
Um, I'd like to do some big tournaments, I'd like to compete 5 or 6 times this year. Obviously, COVID willing, right? But
Yeah.
um, but it's more like, okay, why wouldn't I compete, right? Those are the things I kind of ask myself, like, why don't you compete? Okay, aside from like fear and your ego, which is a big one, right, that gets in our
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Number one.
Like that's a big one.
Number
Let's
one.
let's shelf that one for a moment. Okay, can you afford to do it, right? It's like, okay, can you afford to do it? Are you healthy enough to do it, right? It's like, where is the tournament at? Do you have work that week? Like, what are all those things? And if all those boxes check, then it's like, okay, number one, now you come back in the picture, it's like, I can do this. And so I check those first 3 boxes first, and then it's simple. And sometimes what I'll do is, this is a little trick for anybody that's nervous about competing, is have a couple glasses of wine and then just enroll at like 9 o'clock at night. And then in the morning, you gotta
You got to owe up to it.
in the morning,
Got no
you gotta deal
choice.
with the consequences. That's
You
how
get that liquid courage. You get a little courage.
it's like, I can fight
Throw-
these guys.
Oh yeah, just
That's
as good
how
as these guys.
That's how we went to Pans in October. I swear, that's how we went to Pans. I was
That's
like,
great.
I looked at the Southwest points. I was like, we got points to fly there. I was like, screw it. Boom, booked it. And I said, Sarah, I'm signed up for Pans. Do you want to go? And she's like, what? She's like, yeah, sign me up too. So we signed up, and
Sometimes you got to do it that way because it's hard. It's not that you're even scared or it's not even your ego, but just the commitment. For me, it's like the commitment it takes once you sign your name, because your whole mentality shifts. It's not I can take a day off here and there. It's like, especially the big tournaments when you want to pay those things respect. I mean, there's no slouches in those bigger tournaments. You got to, at your level, you got to go to fight. So it's almost like, I mean, that's been my experience. It's like especially lately, it's like all those things, and we commended you for that. I think in last week or the week before, we talked about athletes like yourself that are juggling all this stuff: family, work, training, and then you're going to make this mental and physical commitment to go and compete. I mean, that is not easy. Like, that's one of those things that outsiders have no concept. They're just like, oh, you did a competition. It's like,
good
what
job.
you're doing.
That sounds fun. It's like,
Yeah, right.
you're
It's
like, yeah, the 20 minutes of competing was fun. But
Exactly.
the 90 days leading up to it,
right. I mean, it's mental pressure. It's pressure. You have to manage that pressure, right, and not freak out. But it is pressure nonetheless. It's something you're thinking about. You have that thing on the horizon, and man, I admire people such as yourself that just get you. I think also you're successful at being able to go do that because you're so regimented with your daily. It's just another slot in the calendar for you. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
if you did it when you were drunk.
Right. No, but
it
you're
ends
right.
up being a slot on the calendar that you're managing towards that date. You have to manage accordingly around it and within it. So,
Yeah, I
That's
think
such a
signing up-
valuable tool.
yeah.
Having that discipline and that calendar, you can visually see your target date, and you know everything that's going on in if you're that regimented and that disciplined.
Yeah.
You can see everything in your purview and how it all can lead to that one event. That's invaluable in my opinion. It gives you such a better way to gauge managing.
It's like
family,
managing a
business,
project.
travel.
It's like managing a project at work. I'm sure Nick has some big accounts. He's got some trips planned. That's on the calendar. What do I
yeah.
need to do to prep for that?
Oh, yeah.
What is this going to take to be successful at this meeting? I mean,
Oh yeah, no, and it's silly we're talking about calendars like an insurance agent, but if I were a professional jiu-jitsu athlete, I would certainly have a calendar.
yeah.
It's like, wake up, what time's your protein shake? Okay, great.
Yeah.
And in fact, I actually put my protein shake in the calendar because I forget it sometimes. It's like, all right, it's like, what time's your protein shake? When are you working out? If you're a pro athlete, when are you recovering? When are you going to chill fit?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, when's your second workout? Like, and then it's great. To Wes's point, you just look at your day or your week and you're like, oh, okay, if I want to play the guitar, I can play, between 2 and 4 or 5, whatever, 7 and 9. And I think that's, it's good counsel probably for everyone really, just to live by that calendar. My wife's probably going to kill me. She hates this, but we talk about the calendar because we put family stuff in there.
Yeah.
But really, the fun stuff to put in is jiu-jitsu, like 10 a.m. tomorrow, boom, that's in the calendar. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now I go get my gi bag ready, right? Now maybe I don't have that extra chocolate at the end of the night because I don't want my belly to hurt in the morning. Or now you start making decisions, preparing for the future.
Yes.
And when you do that jiu-jitsu tournament, to your point, Paul, now we're adding calms on Saturday and Sunday because now we got to do the heavy lift, right? Now you got to do extra work. Because I'm with you. It's like if you sign up for a tournament and you're going to do the same things you do when you're not in tournament mode, that's unacceptable to me. And I'm guilty of it, certainly. But when I'm able to hold myself accountable, like what I'll do oftentimes is put in the calendar 10 a.m. jiu-jitsu, and then right afterwards it's like hill sprints.
Yeah.
Oh, brutal. Well, you want to compete, so we go 10 a.m., boom, we're doing hill sprints at 12 noon. Great. Lunch got bumped back an hour.
Yeah.
If it's on the calendar, it gets done. I tell that to people. If it goes on the calendar, I actually have an online training that I send to people who are struggling with organization and struggling with how to set up a day that is how to be successful during the day. And part of that training is the training that we're talking about right now, the training that I got from a business coach, the training that you got from a sales coach. That stuff, I paid shitloads of money to get that training. And now I give that out to every single person that is struggling with their scheduling. But if you put something on a calendar and you're disciplined about it, shit gets done. And then if it doesn't get done, then you have to look at that calendar and it stares at you in the face.
You got to live with it.
You got to live with it. And knowing that it didn't get done, and then the next day you get right back on it and you make sure everything on that calendar gets done.
And it's just like anything. It's like, we always talk about in the Mahoney group, a crawl, walk, run process. Like when you're a white belt, you're crawling. You know what I mean? On blue belt, purple belt, you're walking. Same thing with lifting weights. When you're beginning, you're starting light. And it's like you can take a slow process. Everything doesn't need to happen overnight. You can continue to get better in your processes. And same with the calendar. It's like, okay, you don't have to have a calendar like mine where from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m. it's full. It just is. And that's not on me. That's kids, whatever. But 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we're locked up. Why don't you just start with 8 a.m., I'm going to do overhead, kettlebell, shoulder presses, 10 on each arm. Boom.
Yep.
And then tomorrow we do that, and we have that protein shake at 8. And now it's called habit stacking, right? Power habit,
Yep.
right? You're just habit stacking. And I think that's when it becomes magic, right? Like Paul, I look up to Paul because I think of Paul as like Paul's a step above me. Like I see myself being Paul. He's a little bit older than me, my senior. But I see myself because he's got that I can wake up a little earlier than you, Nick thing.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's a prostate thing or what that is.
Hey, one of us survived early bird.
So
one of us still trains at 6 a.m.
I know, bro. I know. So it's like he's got that extra 2 hours on me, and I'm like, I know it. But no, you've got a great regimen too, and I think it didn't happen overnight, right? You built to become this guy.
Yeah, exactly. But when I started jiu-jitsu in particular, I knew I already had a busy schedule at my former work. I was working a 9 to 5. Actually I worked I think it was 8 to 4:30 at the time. I just knew if I'm going to do this and make a commitment to jiu-jitsu, this is in 2012, I was going to have to find a time that worked for me. At the time, I worked all day, and at night I could not train. I was divorced from my wife, so that was the time I was raising kids. I would see my kids during the night, so the kids would go back and forth. I wasn't going to sacrifice my time with my kids. So I knew that I was like, okay, this class over here is like 6:30 a.m. Now I've always been kind of an early guy to wake up, but I've never gotten up and wrestled people at 6 a.m.
That's a different
totally
thing.
different animal.
I'll wake up and deadlift at 6 a.m. but wrestling.
Yeah. But it is something like, obviously it's completely different. I've been doing it so many years now that my
Right.
body's in tune to it and it can really get going that quick. But it was like, it was the same thing though. I had to make a commitment to that, and I put it on the calendar. It was just on my calendar that these days, and at the time when I started, 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday, whatever it was, Monday and Wednesday, I'm getting up early. I'm going to go to
Right.
this jujitsu, and then I'll go
Right.
to work. It's the only time I have to do it. But I've always been somewhat motivated. I have lifted forever. Some people don't have that in them where they can, start with the overhead press. It's like, but I like that habit stacking that you talked about, because that's kind of what I do. I've never heard that term actually, but I love it because I'm always about forming habits, man. I always tell people you got to get in the habit. Once you're in the habit, whether it's weight loss or working out or jujitsu, give it 6 months. Give it an honest chance. Like if you don't, you're not giving yourself an honest look at it. You got to put in the work. Then at 6 months, if you honestly did the work, you honestly ate good, I guarantee you're not going to look back and go, I'm going to go back the other way.
Right.
But you have to give it that long, you know, people want fast results no matter, and even people in jiu-jitsu, they want to jump in jiu-jitsu and get real quick, get good quick. And it's like, we all know right away, that's just not going to happen. Like it's, there's way too, even when you get your black belt, I'm sure you can attest that there's still a tremendous, you can learn your entire life in jiu-jitsu. Literally. Everyone, the biggest OGs in the Gracie family are still probably learning when they're on the mats to some extent. So I'm glad you look up to me, man. I like to, or in that regard, because I like to do this also to motivate people. Like, I get off on motivating people, whether it's, I might not even hear from someone, but if someone sees a post online, and I'm not somebody that's like, there's people that post about their workouts online to make money. I like to motivate people. I'm going to let you know I'm working out still, that I'm not full of shit. I'm walking the walk. So I think that's important, because I've had people both in jiu-jitsu and people that look up to me in terms of strength training, or especially like people my age. It's like, what are you doing, to be looking this good and feeling fit? And I feel amazing. But honestly, and that's what I have to say. It's like, well, I'm committed. Like, I'm putting it out there, but that's part of the reason is I share it to try to motivate people. I have these people in my family, and I have other friends that really need some motivation in this regard, And it's difficult when you're getting older and you're seeing people fall apart when they shouldn't be,
Right. I'm with you. I feel the same way. It breaks your heart, and it's such a simple fix, and how much joy you can get out of it.
Yeah.
How much. I mean, I've had some great times lifting weights. It sounds lame or weird to say, but it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm with you totally.
You're improving your health. So if you're feeling good, it's the mental thing, right? You're boosting your whole mental outlook on everything if you're getting a good workout in, no matter what it is. So I think that's what we know people miss that from jiu-jitsu, because we're in the fight club, but even strength training, it's like just getting healthy and eating right. And man, I've people that are close to us and our family and stuff that just wreck their bodies with food, and they're always feeling terrible. And it's almost
Yeah.
like to the point where I've said so many, what can you do? It's like you have to have that something inside you. Like you said, you've probably always been somewhat of a, you're always working out and stuff, but you did say there was a period where you were sloughing off, and then something switched. No, this is the way I have to do it. You almost have to have that come to you. It's like
Right.
that aha moment, and some people never get it,
Right.
but they will not live as long of a life, but also as fulfilled of a life. My whole thing is I don't want to just be decrepit when I'm old. I want to be energetic. Like, I want somebody to be like, that 80-year-old over there looks like he's 70. He's a badass, seriously, because that person's feeling good. Anytime you see these older people, like really old, working out and shit, it's like, God damn, they figured it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's meaningful.
There's a book by David Sinclair called Lifespan, and he's been on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
It's a great book, but he talks about people living to be long age, like 150. And I say that to people, and people kind of go like, "Oh, I don't want to live that long." It's like, well, I don't want to live like that and be like the 7-year-olds a day that shit their
Right,
pants
right.
and can barely walk. No, I don't want
Yeah.
that. I want to be a healthy, vibrant
Yeah.
person, like the 70-year-old that's climbing Camelback Mountain every day, or
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
exactly.
I think there's different ways to be, and if you put in, it's like anything. It's like anything. It's just a habit stack, and it's like investing. It's like a
Yeah.
401k. Well, I can't max on my 401k. Well, just start putting in $20 a paycheck, $5 a paycheck. It will eventually be more money. Just
Yeah.
lift the shoulder head overhead press. Eventually, you'll be doing the overhead, swings. It's
Exactly.
like you can't do this flying arm row yet because you're a white belt, but eventually you will be able to do it when you're a
Yeah.
purple belt. And it's just like anything. You grow with it.
Yeah.
But that's one thing that I think I've had the ability to do is somehow is to kind of build and grow those blocks. I've always kind of seen like, oh, if I just keep at this, eventually I'll build a castle. I always
Yeah.
joke I've had 2 jobs. I worked with Baskin Robbins for like 4 or 5 years, and I've been at the Mahoney Group for 17. It's like
Yeah.
I was the staff leader at Baskin Robbins too. It's
I
like
bet you were.
I'm a consistent guy. It's just like just
Yeah.
keep showing up,
Yeah.
and I get smashed. I have hard days. I get discouraged. I get all of those things. I mean, insecurity, fear, everything, right? But it's just
Hmm.
like, well, I'm gonna show up again. I'm gonna show up tomorrow. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm just gonna show up.
Jiu-jitsu is like the perfect microcosm for that. Like you know what I mean? You can just see that. It's the absolute number one. It's you just keep showing up and you get better. You just keep showing up, right? I mean, you see it more in jiu-jitsu than everything, because especially as you guys both trained many years, you see other white belts who you just start. That's what I'm saying now at this point in my journey. It's like, I remember when these guys were white belts. I like, honestly, there's a couple that I would never thought they would make it, and now it's like, oh, these guys are pushing the pace. They're super engaged. They never would have thought, just as I wouldn't have thought that I would have had these skills. You don't think that, when you can envision it, but it takes so long to gather those skills, right?
That's a good point. I never thought about that. You can see the results in jiu-jitsu immediately,
Totally.
not
Yeah.
in yourself, but in others. Like,
Over time.
oh, you're a purple belt and you were a
Yeah.
white belt too? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
shoot, I'll be like you one day. And it's
Exactly.
like, no, that's Issa Abel. You won't be like him.
Yeah, but on a certain level, that has been something that I've always thought about, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. But it's almost like it's almost like you're manifesting it. You're envisioning. It's not necessarily a goal, but I knew right away in jiu-jitsu that even if it took 20 years, if I kept coming, I would learn these skills, and I would someday be like my black belt instructor that I so much looked up to. I didn't have to put a date on it. I just knew. I was like, that's how it works. I just know that's how you become successful at anything. There's reasons why these people are in those positions, and it's not rare. You can be the CEO of a company. There's a path to get there, and you have to stay on that path and do all the right things. But jiu-jitsu, I've really enjoyed the part where you can, just my teammates, especially we have a close knit group in the early bird. I've seen now guys, a couple different waves of people come, and they're blue belts and purple belts, and it's like, that's really cool to see, man, when you can start seeing other people's, because in the gym, like if you're strength training, you don't see that type of thing. I mean, I've seen the same dudes in my strength gym for
Right,
years.
right,
I have no
right,
idea what their
right.
goals or
You don't even know them from
how they
Adam,
could be
right?
lifting the same damn thing 5 years ago. I don't know.
Right.
But in jujitsu, it's like you feel that skill. You're maybe somebody you used to completely dominate or just toyed with because they were just such a lower belt. Now it's like, no, I can't take this person for granted anymore. And that's great to see. And I think that's motivating for the whole group as a whole. I think that's why jiu-jitsu, in fact, is one of the most uplifting things you can do, because you have that energy where everyone is improving and it's all marked improvement.
I agree
Jiu-jitsu.
with you. Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, no, I agree too, man.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, I think it goes with really everything in life is that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert in anything, but it's like it seems like if you just keep at it, it will work out.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I want to see people get healthier too, like you said earlier. And it's like I think sometimes you see people in jiu-jitsu that are very unhealthy. And it's like, thank goodness you're here. I'm like the nicest to those people. Like, I want to just like
Yeah.
say, dude, if you need help paying your dues, let me know. I can cover you.
Yeah.
It's like I want you to be here
Yeah.
because to your point, like you look in the crystal ball, you're like, I know what your future's like, and
Yeah.
it's better than the past you've experienced. And not to say that it was a bad life. I'm not trying to disparage anyone. I'm just saying I
Yeah.
think that I certainly feel better. My family appears to feel better. You gentlemen are telling me you feel better when we exercise, when we're
Yeah.
engaged with our community and people. It's like it's beautiful. And that's why we're here, right? We love it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you mess around with any, how much supplementation are you doing with supplements?
Yeah, so what I do is I do a protein shake every morning, and I usually do vegetable protein. I don't do well with whey. I don't like whey. Just doesn't sit well with my belly. So I've always done vegetable protein for the last couple of years. You will do creatine, do like 5 or 10 grams of creatine a day. That's really the extent of my supplement. Maybe some BCAAs after a really hard lift or
Yeah.
something like that. I like drinking those Rain energy drinks.
Hmm.
They claim to have some BCAAs in them, so
They
um,
claim.
they claim, right,
No, they
allegedly.
do.
But so I'll do that. I take vitamins, vitamin D, fish oil,
Nice.
um, multivitamin, all that. I try to eat healthy. We recently signed up for this trifecta meals. I think you saw me posted on
Hmm.
Instagram. It's like just a meal service, but truthfully for us, we were spending more money. After football practice, it's like, oh, let's just go to Chipotle. It's easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's just go. Duh. And it's like,
It's hard to cook
so
on that Traeger every night, bro.
yeah, you can't do it every night. So, and most of those meats aren't very healthy. It's all fatty,
Yeah.
but we do meal prep. We'll meal prep our own meals, but it was just like it was a nice way for us. It's like, okay, there's no more excuses. Just go home and eat this chicken breast and rice, and it's healthy.
Yeah.
And so I think that's had a big impact. And then obviously sleep. I try to sleep. I usually go to bed at 8 or 9, which is like
Oh, wow.
old man style. But I go
That
to bed
is.
early. It's more 9 now. My kids really were like
Now I
dying
know
to.
I'm on another level than you because I'm getting up earlier and going to bed
I know,
later.
but we'll see. We'll see who punches out first. All right, bro.
I'll meet you at the end
That's right. Yeah, and so the sleep thing's important to me.
for sure.
Because, dude, when you're smashed, when you're just
Yeah.
like I
You're so
train.
busy, man. I'm sure you have no problem falling asleep at night, you know? I
Yeah, so
mean,
I sleep a lot, but I just try to eat healthy if I can.
yeah.
Try to avoid alcohol. Alcohol is really a tough one. I love to drink alcohol, red wine with my wife, but it's like I've noticed that there's a significant
Yeah.
drag with alcohol. Like
Yeah.
it is huge. Like bloat, belly aches,
Oh,
back
yeah.
pain,
The next
inflammation.
day, man.
It's terrible.
Hard to train,
Hard
the
to
next day.
train.
You're not going to be optimized.
Plus, you make bad choices at night when you drink that. You know what I mean?
Or you sign up for pans.
That was fun.
That was a good choice.
That was a good choice.
Yeah. That was a good run you had, man, this year.
Oh
Yeah, it
man.
was
Great
good.
run. Amazing. How'd you feel out there?
I felt good. I feel like I was kind of, I don't feel the way I feel now. I feel very confident now in my jiu-jitsu. Like, I really feel like I understand what I need to do to not lose. I still do lose, obviously. And there's
Hmm.
still, guys that smash me. But I feel like when I train with high-level guys, I'm competent, and that provides a lot of value to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like beat up a purple belt, beat up a brown belt, that's cool, whatever. But a high level brown belt, like a 25-year-old guy come in and I can train with him and maybe I just lose a couple positions. That means a lot.
Yeah.
That's really confidence boosting.
Nice. Well, buddy,
Looking forward to watching you
for sure.
compete again.
Thanks, Nick, for joining us today. It was, man, we've all been friends for a long time. So, like we said last week, we couldn't have picked a better guy to get on here and talk about like somebody's journey from white to black. We got a lot of, we got people with all belt colors listening to this show. So, it was good to hear you on here, man. And I wish you much success. And obviously, I'm going to be pretty involved in what you're doing with, since Nick wears my Royal Union apparel. I'm always tuned in to when he's competing. I'm always appreciative of him wearing my stuff out there and showing it off, and he's always looking fly as he is today. You guys got anything else?
No, man. I just want to say thanks for coming on, Nick.
Thanks so much, guys. It was a lot of fun talking with you. I can't wait to see you guys both again in the flesh. Can't wait to choke you both.
All right, buddy. We'll do it again. Later, guys.